Hello, today we're going to be looking at how to work with GraphQL within VS Code and why this is important. So we're going to be looking at VS Code extensions that might help our workflow, syntax highlighting, and also querying Infrahub via VS Code. So why would we want to do this? One, it saves us context switching between the UI and the development environment, which might be your VS Code. And this will greatly increase the development workflow and make it more efficient to work with your GraphQL queries and save us having to look into the schemas and what's loaded into Infrahub, as well as using the GraphQL sandbox that we do provide via the UI, so we can have the same functionality within our code editor. So let's have a look at what extensions we can use to improve this workflow. So first, what we want to see is the GraphQL file we have here is not syntax highlighted. There's nothing there that's providing any extra value. And what we can do is look for GraphQL extensions, and specifically there's a few that are provided by the GraphQL Foundation, mainly this one, the language feature support. So we add that. That will also add syntax highlighting, but we also want to add the inline operations. There we go, inline operation execution, and this allows you to execute the GraphQL query from inside of VS Code. So now they're loaded, what we're going to do is give it a quick window reload just to make sure the extensions are loaded correctly, and that's just opening your command prompt, Command Shift P on Mac, and doing a reload window. Awesome. If we look now at the GraphQL file, we can see the syntax highlighting. This is perfect. However, it is not providing the auto completion that we would like. If we want to go into ID, we can't see the other attributes that are available, and this is because the extension's unaware of what is loaded in Infrahub, and we haven't told the extension what schema, GraphQL schema to use. So to provide that, we need to tell the extension where to look for that schema. So we need to create a file called .graphql rc.yml, and we have that within the root of our repository. I'm just going to copy paste some data here, and that is, we need to define two things in here: the schema, where to look for the GraphQL schema. So all of your Infrahub instances, whether local or deployed in production, will have the schema available. So we can provide that via the URL and then schema.graphql. And we also need to tell the extension what GraphQL files locally to use when parsing and learning about the GraphQL files. And we're just looking for everything within any folder that starts with a GQL. Perfect, we'll just save that. What I'll do for now as well is reload to make sure we force that extension to read from that GraphQL RC file. Perfect. So now we can see we have the syntax highlighting as we did before, but now we also have the ability to see the outline of the GraphQL query. And if I just give this a test, if I go to ID and press enter, perfect. We can see that the IntelliSense has picked up what attributes this schema, this node has available. This is the infra device, so we can see role, status, etc. So let's quickly create our own and start one from scratch and see how that works. So I'm just going to create a new file just to query interfaces, for example. GQL interface.graphql. So I'm going to create a named query, so that's query interfaces. I'm just going to go straight in, no variables, etc. And we can see it's provided all the list of nodes that we have within the database, all the different options for the schemas. And we can see that within here as well. If we go to the schema within object management schemas, we can see all the same as what it's providing here. If I were to search interface We can see there's infra interface as a generic, there's L2, L3, and if we go back to here, we can look for interface, and we can see the interface, we can see the L2, L3, etc. So I'm going to select infra interface, and we need to go into that. So perfect. First it's saying if I query the interface, I can provide a count. Yes, I want that. And then I want to get all the individual interfaces when querying. So to do that, we need to go into edges, and then we need to select the node, and then it's giving us the attributes that are available. So we can see the role, the name, etc. So name, and we can see we can pull the value from that as well. If we want, we can also pull back relationship information. So we can see here devices relationship, we can see nested edge infra device. We can go in that, select the node, and then select maybe the name of the device, and the name has a value. And we can also bring back the site, which also might be a relationship as well. So perfect. We've got this IntelliSense workings, making it very nice to just tab through and make it quick to develop against. Now what we want to be able to do is test this query. How do we test this query within VS Code? Now with the GraphQL extension for the inline operations, we have this execute query button at the top. If I press that, nothing happens. What we need to do is tell the extension where to query. We haven't told it that. We told it where the schema lives, but we didn't tell it where to query. So I'm just going to copy and paste some data here from my screen on the side. And this is what we need to provide. Extensions tells VS Code where to put it. And specifically this GraphQL extension is looking for endpoints, and we're going to provide a URL which is similar to above, but instead of schema.graphql, it's just GraphQL. Now note, this will query the main branch. If you would like to query specific branches, you would need to edit this to provide the same query parameters as it would within the standard UI. So if I go to branch 2, for example, it's provided branch question mark branch equals branch 2, and I would put that into here. There we go, at the end, like that. In this example, we're just going to query main. Now, why do we want this? We want to be able to do it so we don't have to keep on flicking back between the GraphQL sandbox, for example, to query and see what's available. We can use the extension to look at what attributes are available and do the querying all in one without having to go back and forth. So now I've saved this, let's go back to our GraphQL, execute query, and then we should see on the right hand side that the query is there. We can see that there's a count, the edges, each edge has a node, and there's a name. There's some extra data within here that is provided by the GraphQL client under the hood in the extension. We can't remove this, unfortunately, but it's just providing the type name, the type name that GraphQL uses to see what in the schema what it uses. So it's a text attribute, for example. But we can see, we also see the relationship, the device, the node, the name, the value. So if I were to copy and paste this query into the sandbox, we wouldn't get that type name. It's just that it's automatically added by the GraphQL client of the VS Code extension. So we can confirm that in here. I'll just query, and we can see, yes, type name is not included. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of how to use the VS Code extension for GraphQL. It has much more functionality, like the ability to work with fragments and see what is also available on fragments, which is really cool. So yeah, feel free to let us know if you're using this or gain value out of it. I think it's really cool to have this within the development workflow. Yeah, reach out. Thank you very much.